Now, coming up with a concept for a character, it's my favorite thing in the world. I kind of like the character creation part of Pathfinder 2nd Edition, or in truth, any tabletop role-playing games. But I will say this, when you create a lot of characters, a lot of times you can run into a wall maybe. Maybe you're doing your 4th fighter and you don't know how you're going to make this one feel different. Or maybe you're doing your 3rd bard and they all kind of play the same. Well, there are some things you can do. You can go ahead and look to TV, movies, anime, whatever kind of entertainment you like to partake in. You can read a book or go from a story that you were told as a child and kind of key one of your characters into something from that. Or maybe there's a particular background you haven't done before, or a different aspect of a background you haven't done before, and you'd like to kind of key in on that. Well, that's also an idea. But there are also another group of things that I like to use, and that would be feats. Now, a lot of these are going to be the mental side, not the physical, but you can use physical as well, and I'm going to highlight one specifically. However, these are feats that I very specifically have used before in order to kind of bring a character to life, at least in my eyes, and they're things that you can use. Now, does that mean this is some type of exhaustive list? No, these are just the ones that I like to use, and I'm sure you have others that you can use in order to kind of bring your own characters to life. Matter of fact, I could see something like Bargain Hunter try to help bring a character to life. But once again, these are the ones that I like to use. So my name is Don. I'm trying to be the Sly Strategist, and let's go ahead and get into it. So the feats that I'm going to be covering are pretty much general feats. I'm really not going to go to class feats or anything of that sort. These are going to be things that pretty much anyone can take. Now, they might have prerequisites. You might need to be trained in a certain skill. However, in general, pretty much anyone can take them. And speaking of in general, let's go ahead and start with some general feats. Now, the first one I'm going to talk about is the general feat Seasoned, which is a 1st level feat. Now, you do have some prerequisites for this one, and that would be to be trained in alcohol lore, cooking lore, or crafting. But basically what it means is you have mastered the preparation of many types of food and drink, whatever you're trying to present. And this could be something, once again, if you have alcohol cooking lore, or if you wanted to make it tied into your alchemist, you can use alchemical crafting. Or if you want to make a potion maker, you can make it have magical crafting. And basically what it does is, for utility, it gives you a +1 circumstance bonus to checks to craft food and drink, to include elixirs and potions. Now, if you're a master, this bonus increases to a +2. So it is useful. It's not just something you're doing for flavor. However, if you did have an alchemist, if you did had someone that makes a lot of potions, if you had someone with a dandy archetype, if you had someone with just a bunch of things, you could go ahead and use this in order to give them a personality. Let's go to the dandy archetype. With the dandy archetype, you could make presentation of the food or the potions or the alchemical elixirs be a huge part of the process. So not only get the bonus, but it gives you a way to present things in order to make it unique. It's one that I have had a lot of fun with in the past and can see being used just pretty much about anyone who has certain backgrounds or certain types of crafting. It's really a great feat. Now, another one that is not only a good utility feat, but that you could really key a character around, and that would be Prescient Planner, which is another general feat, and it's a 3rd level feat. Now, you don't get stuff for free. It does cost the price of whatever item you're trying to choose or pull out of your backpack. And the requirement is that you haven't used this since the last time you were able to purchase goods. So it's not just for the day, but it's basically from the last time you went back to town or wherever, met the traveling salesperson, but the last time you were able to purchase goods. So basically, you always have convoluted plans or contingencies, and you use whatever resources you have to enact them. So what you can do is you can take a minute, remove your backpack or whatever you're carrying, and then you can remove an item that you hadn't necessarily stated that you bought before. So you just came up with the idea through intuition that you would need the item, and you purchased it at the last opportunity that you had. Now, it must be common. It has to be adventuring gear. It can't be weapons, armor, alchemical items, magic items, or treasure, but it's a common with a level no higher than half of your level, and it must be of small bulk. so that if you carried it, you wouldn't have been encumbered. But you can use this for that type of character that always has a date book, or always has a list, or has a journal, or is always coming up with plans. If you're getting ready to go on a quest, they're going to do the percentage chance that you'll succeed or fail, and they might do the same for every single encounter or specific combat within an encounter that you come up with. Or you could kind of take them the other way, where you could take a character who seemingly doesn't plan for anything. However, they just always seem to have what they need at the given time that they need it. It is kind of like a twofer. You can kind of pick which way you'd like to do it, but it is a really good feat that you can use in order to just kind of create that character that just always has the right thing. And the utility is very good for what you get. Now I'm going to move into some specific skill feats, and I'm going to start with Deception. So Deception, the first one I can think of is Charming Liar, which is a first level feat. Now, the prerequisite for this is that you are trained in Deception. So you are just so charming that you win over the people that you lie to. So when you get a critical success using the lie action, the target's attitude towards you is going to increase by 1 step, basically taking the effects of make an impression under diplomacy, but you are able to do this just by using the Charming Liar feat. It works only once per conversation. And if you are speaking to a group of people or a group of monsters or a group of whatever, you basically have to choose a target within those multiple targets in order to improve their attitude. Now, you have to be lying in order to give someone some type of important information, inflate your status within a group, or try to integrate yourself within that group. But it can't be trivial or irrelevant. It has to be something that's pertinent to what you're trying to do. So basically what it is your lies are just so charming. The way you present them, the way you speak them, how you act, what you do when you're trying to lie, just ingratiates yourself with that particular person, and it increases your status. It's just the perfect type for a good smarmy, smoozy type character, and one of the ones that I really like for not that much of an investment. Now, another good one in Deception is Confabulator. So it's similar, but not quite. This is a second level feat, and you have to be an expert in Deception and not just trained. But what it is let's say you're caught in a lie. Well, you just keep piling lie upon lie upon lie. When you use this feat, you are going to reduce the circumstance bonus that a target gains because you failed on a previous attempt to create a diversion or lie from +4 to +2. If you're a master, that bonus is no longer a +2, it's a +1. And if you're legendary, the target doesn't get any bonus at all. They pretty much just have to roll straight like nothing ever happened before. Now that's on a legendary, so it's pretty high. But once again, this is another one that is very good for that smarmy, smoozy, kind of slick creature, slick character. And a lot of these are going to be things like rogue and swashbuckler and bards, but any character can really use this that has a good deception. So these are things that can just take that normal character and give them a personality just based on this one feat or multiples of the same skill. Now, we're going to move from deception to diplomacy. So one that I have used in the past that I really do like, and that is the second level feat, Glad Hand. Now, you do have to be an expert in diplomacy, not just trained. And this one is all about first impressions. So when you meet someone, either casually or social situation, doesn't matter, formal or not, you can immediately attempt a diplomacy check to make an impression. You don't have to spend that minute in conversation. It happens immediately. However, if you fail or critically fail, you can engage in a minute of conversation and attempt a new check at the end of that time rather than accepting the failure or the critical failure result. So you can basically wipe that off the table and it gives you 2 chances. That's the utility. Now, the role-playing angle or the character personality angle is you could just be a person that just walks in and lights up the room immediately. There's someone who always makes that impression as soon as they come in, and it's always good. It kind of doesn't matter what they're doing at the time. Not in encounters, but I would say for exploration or downtime, this one would work out really well for that just wow type character that everybody notices as soon as they come in. Now, this next one is probably my favorite feat of all time. This one's in diplomacy, and it's a 7th level feat. It is called Shameless Request. I love this one so much. So no matter what you say, what you ask for, what you're trying to get, you downplay the consequences or just how outrageous your request is, just using brazenness and charm. So if you request something, you reduce any DC increases for making that outrageous request by 2. And if you roll a critical failure, you just get a failure instead. So no matter what you do, the target will never reduce their attitude towards you by making that request. Now, sure, they could tire of the request and they could send you away, but they're still going to have a positive attitude, or at least not a worse attitude towards you. So once again, this is kind of back to that smarmy, smoozy, really slick character. Bards, swashbucklers, rogues, heck, Cleric of Caden would be really good for this one. You could actually use this for just about anything, but once again, they have to have good diplomacy for this to really matter. Now, let's go ahead and move into another kind of mental skill, and that would be society. And this one I really like a lot for not a lot of investment with a lot of utility that you can get really right from the start, and that would be Streetwise. It is a 1st level feat, and the prerequisite is train in society. That's all you have to be. And this is all about knowing about life on the streets and living on the streets. You know the pulse of your local settlement. So you can use your society modifier instead of your diplomacy modifier to gather information. So that's just a bonus off the top if your society happens to be higher than your diplomacy, because that's what you chose during character creation. However, if you are in a settlement that you are in frequently, you can use recall knowledge action with society to know the same exact sort of things that you would know with gather information without the time cost. Now, the DC might be significantly higher, but you know the information without spending any time at all. And if you fail to recall that information, you can still do a regular gather information normally in order to try to overcome the fact that you failed. So once again, you get a second chance. Now, this is for that character that just grew up in the city, grew up in the streets, knows everyone, knows everything, knows where everything is. Let's say your bard wants to hold a performance and you don't want to get thrown in jail for doing something against local ordinances. Well, you would know the building and the person in order to get the permit from in order for the bard to not get in trouble with the guards. It's just a great feat in order to give a little personality to character without necessarily being over the top. Now, everything we've done so far is kind of tied to mental things or things that are actually there to basically show the character in their best light possible. But then there are other things that you can do, and I'm going to use Intimidation. Now, this is one I've used before, and it's called Battle Cry. It's a 7th level feat, and the prerequisite for this one is a little bit higher. It's a Master in Intimidation. But what this allows you to do is when you're rolling initiative, you can yell a battle cry. You can come up with one. Maybe if you're not that invested in the role-playing side of it, maybe you just say, I do my battle cry. But you can actually just kind of work this up into something you do at the beginning of every combat. And as soon as you do that battle cry, you immediately demoralize an observed foe as a free action. If you're legendary in Intimidation, you can use a reaction to demoralize a foe when you critically succeed on an attack roll. So it is just this big, loud, bombastic thing you do. Legendary when you roll for initiative or you get a critical success. If you're not legendary, you can do it at the beginning of every single combat and just demoralize someone straight off. Now, you can use this for that barbarian that starts combat and just starts screaming and yelling and starts whacking. Or you can do it for the gnome wizard, and they might have a little battle cry in their squeaky voice, and someone is so surprised that the gnome wizard said what they said that all of a sudden they're demoralized, or they'd have to do the check at the very least. But it doesn't have to be the big, strong character. You can use anybody. You could have the cleric do it, a cleric of Desna, and they could be calling for butterflies and unicorns so hard that the foe just kind of is taken aback for a second, and you immediately frighten them with a demoralize. It has a lot of utility. At the beginning of every single initiative, you can go ahead and attempt to demoralize someone. However, it has a lot of flavor to it, depending on how you want to use it. Now, I do hope you like these role-playing tips on basically some feats you can use for character ideation or character creation. I do like using feats because they're not something that you will normally always see, and you might get some of these by picking a certain background just for free. So there's not a lot of investment. They have utility, but you can literally base a personality or at least an aspect of someone's personality around just this feat itself. Now, I do hope you like this video, and if you did, feel free to like, subscribe, or hit that notification bell. But whatever you do, I hope you have a great day and happy adventuring. Thanks.